Hi everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to create your own 3D group logo on VIDEOSTAR. You could even use this as an effect in your edits as well. Keep in mind though that there is a variety of styles when creating group logos, so I'll only be showing one, but I'm hoping that through that you'll be able to figure out how to do other styles. But anyways, I'm gonna make my clip 2 seconds. You can make yours shorter or longer, but just keep in mind that you'll have to adjust the placement of the keyframes. So first let's go to multi-layer and make it 3D. Now for your background, you can make it black or white, or if you want your group to be able to kind of make a transparent background and add it in the middle of your edits, then make it green or blue or just a color that'll be easy to mask out, a color that you're not going to use on your actual logo. So the first thing that we're going to add is the object or the picture that you want in the middle of your logo. You can check out my VIDEOSTAR 3D room / 3D objects playlist. I have probably like 100 options for you to put in the middle of your logo. One really easy but cool looking option is using 3D fonts. And basically all that you have to do is go to the font and find a font where the letters are symbols, just like this. I have a video where I compiled like 20 of these fonts with various symbols for you to use. So just download the font that you want to use, and let's say I want this cute little phone symbol. Once you've downloaded the font and imported it to VIDEOSTAR, just create a text layer. And according to this list, if I use this font and type a capital M, so let me do that. You can see that now I have the cute little phone heart symbol. Then you can just change the color. And to change the back part of it, change the outline color. And to change the thickness of this, just go to spacing and you can move this bottom little bar and that'll change the thickness. And there you go, super easy but really cute 3D object. I also have some options in there that might take multiple layers, like the computer or the 3D Minecraft stuff. Just keep in mind though that how we're going to do the text effect is we're going to make a separate layer for each letter. So if you use multiple layers for just your picture in the middle, that might limit you as to like how many letters you can use for your logo. One thing I don't have in my playlist though is how to turn a 2D picture into a 3D picture. For example, let's say I have this cute little PNG and I want to make it 3D. How I'm going to do that is just first import it for your layer 1. Then for layer 2, copy that first layer. Then go into layer 2 and just reduce the depth by 1 by clicking on the left side of this little white circle. Then go back and for layer 3, copy layer 2 again, or layer 1, doesn't matter, it's the same thing. Go into that layer and reduce the depth by 2 this time. And same thing for layer 4, just reduce the depth 3 times. And for layer 5, reduce it by 4. And you can keep adding more layers and repeating this until it's thick enough, but for me, with just 5 layers, it's pretty good. Now, it might not look that good right now because of the sides, but when you actually keyframe it and add a graph, the sides won't even look obvious. But anyways, once you figured out what you want to have in the middle of your logo, it's time to actually put the text. So first what I'm going to do is, of course, add a text layer. And first you want to just type in your group name or just whatever text you want to have, and also have it in the font that you want for your logo. And click done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position this. I'm just going to scale it down and move it down. And it's okay if your logo isn't in the middle, that's fine. We'll adjust it with the master layer later. And we're just going to use this text layer as a guide. We're going to delete it later. We're just going to use it as a guide to position our letters. So go back and add another text layer. This time just type the first letter in your thing. So for me, that's just the V. Now you want to change it to a 3D text and just change the color to what you actually want. Once you have your text, just go into that layer and just show the last layer. And then just decrease the size and move it to where the letter is supposed to be. Again, we're using the last layer as a guide. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just try to get it there as best as you can. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide the last layer, and you can enable the other layers so that you can see your object in the middle, but that's not really necessary. And now I'm going to add the keyframes for this layer. That way, when we add the other letters, we can just copy the keyframes from this layer, and all that we need to adjust is the position of it. So what I'm going to do to animate mine is I'm going to turn my letters vertically, and I'm going to turn the entire logo horizontally, if that makes sense. So in the very beginning, make sure that you're changing the vertical turn. I'm just going to drag it to the right so that my arrow is pointing down. And you can turn it as much as you want. I'm just going to turn it to about 60 to 70, like that. Now go to the end and turn it to the left. And turn it to the same number as you did in the beginning. This time, just make sure the arrow is pointing up. So here in the beginning, it's 65 going down, and at the end, it's 65 going up. Then for the graph, just screenshot my presets. And now it should look something like this. Now what I'm gonna do is add 15 frames. I'm gonna mark down the size, and I'm gonna do the same thing at 1.15. Then at the very beginning, you want to make the size 0. And here you want to add an out graph, just like this. And then at the end, this very last keyframe, make your size 0. And this time you want to add an in graph, just like this. And now this is what mine looks like. And that's really all that I want to do with my text effect. Again, you can change it up a little bit so you can create your own style of a logo, but that's just what I'm gonna do for mine. Now I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna add another text layer, and I'm just gonna add the next letter for my group name. And you can change the color if you want, or you can just keep it all the same. Now go into that layer and just copy the keyframes from the last layer. Now I'm going to show the layer with my little text guide, and you can even show the last layer and that could guide you even more. And now I'm going to go to the middle of my clip, and I'm just going to move my letter to the side where it's supposed to be. And here I can kind of see that my letter is not as big as the last one. So if you need to increase or decrease the size, then go to the second keyframe here, and that's where you want to increase the size. So I'm just gonna increase it a bit, and hopefully I think that's pretty accurate. And if you change the size on this keyframe, you want to make sure that you change the size on this keyframe as well. Make sure that they're the same number, and just keep positioning it. I think mine is fine there. Once you have it positioned, what you want to do is go to the very beginning of your clip, and this white dot is where my letter currently is, and the gray dot is where it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to carefully position the white dot so that it is right where the gray dot is. That way our letter won't be moving from left to right. And once that's done, you can just delete this keyframe for the path in the middle. And now I'm going to go back, and we're just going to repeat this process until we have all of the letters in our group name. So again, make a text layer and just type in the next letter that you need. Change the color if you want. Go into that layer, copy the keyframes from the last layer. Go to the middle of the clip so that you could see where the text is. And I think my letter is too big, so I'm going to go to the second keyframe, and I'm just going to decrease the size there. And since I changed the size there, I'm going to change it on this keyframe as well. And now that I know where my letter is supposed to be, I'm going to go to the very beginning and move the white dot to where the gray dot is. And now I can just delete the path keyframe here in the middle. And now I'm done for this letter. Now that I have all my letters in place, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to delete the layer with the text guide. And this is what mine currently looks like. And personally, I think it looks a little plain if they're all just turning in the same direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into every other layer, and I'm just going to change the rotations. So I'm going to start with my second letter, and I'm just going to go into that layer. And what I'm going to do is at the very beginning, since my thing is turned to 65 downwards, I'm going to change it to 65 upwards. And then at the end, I'm going to change it to 65 downwards. So now at the beginning, it starts with 65 going up and it ends with 65 going down. Now I'm gonna go back, and again, you wanna do this with every other letter. So I'm gonna do this with my 4th letter this time. And again, change the beginning rotation to 65 up. And then at the very end, change it to 65 down. And again, going into my 6th letter. And lastly, doing the same thing to my 8th letter. And now this is what the text looks like. It just looks a lot more interesting to me that way. Now the last thing that we need to do is create a master. And you want to add all of your layers. And first you want to just go to the middle of your clip and make sure that your logo is centered. So mine isn't centered, so I'm just gonna move it up. And again, using the same method that we did earlier, just going back to the beginning of the clip and moving the white dot to the gray dot. And we can just delete the keyframe in the middle. Now I'm going to turn the entire thing horizontally. So go to the horizontal arrows, and I'm going to start by turning it to the left, and you can decide how much you want it to turn. And I just changed it to 65 again, and right now it's going the left direction. So at the end, I'm going to change it to 65 going in the right direction. So in the beginning, we have 65 to the left, and then at the end, 65 to the right. For the graph, just use this graph again. And this is what mine looks like. You can keep it like this, or if you want to make your logo zoom in and out at the ends, then go to the 15th frame and mark down the size. Then at the beginning, make the size 0. And just add an out graph, just like this. And this is how that looks. If you want it to get small at the end, then go to the 1.15th frame, mark down the size there, and at the end, make the size 0. This time add an in graph, just like this. And this is what that looks like. And I'm pretty happy with how my logo looks, so I'm just gonna go back and just create my clip. It might not look as smooth right now because we didn't add any tracking blur, but later when you put it in your edits, you can add the VIDEOSTAR motion blur thing and that'll fix it. If you did your logo on a black background or a white background and you don't want to make it so like the background's transparent, you can actually just add the motion blur now. But if you want to be able to mask out the background in your edits, you don't want to add motion blur until it's actually on your edit. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to fully mask out the green background. But anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that you'll be able to create other styles of group logos through this. And yeah, thanks for watching.